listening to Movie Reviews and More with Brian Sebastian, only on LA Talk Radio.
All right, here we go. It's Brian Sebastian, Movie Reviews and More, live around the world. I got to say hi to everybody. I always introduce companies and countries, obviously. So hi to Germany, hi to Sweden, hi to Australia, hi to Canada, and the UK. Thank you for joining us today. I've never had 6 people on, and usually I keep it to 4, sometimes 5, but I had to have everybody on some kind of way. Co-hosts, and don't mind us because we have all kinds of stuff. I'll let them introduce themselves. Co-host today, Cat Lopez, Cat TV.
Cat Lopez TV.
Exactly. Well, you got to speak to Colombia, right?
Yeah.
Say hi to Colombia.
Hola, mis amores de Colombia. Los quiero muchísimo. Estamos aquí con Brian Sebastian, así que manténganse en sintonía, ¿ok? Un besito.
Ah, I love that. Everybody, I want you to introduce yourself. Susan, go ahead.
Susan Postnikoff. I work with Redu Distilleries selling Provincial Vodka here in Los Angeles.
Gena.
Gena Renee here. I'm an artist / veteran here to say what's up, guys, and what's going on.
She was also in the Navy for 6 years. Don't let her fool you.
Yay!
And all the way from Canada, we've got to say this. Paul, welcome.
Well,
tell us who you are.
Paul Riben, and I'm the owner and CEO of Redu Distilleries, which we produce 4 different products.
And that's why you see this here, my favorite stuff.
Yeah.
My good friend of almost 29, 30 years, Stan Davis. Stan, comedian's been on Ray Donovan, worked with Tyler Perry, he's worked with all the big people out there. Also in the hit LA play called Elevator.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if we seem a little tipsy, it's because we might be. I'm not saying we are or anything like that, but I'm just saying. Let's kick this off because he's all the way from Canada. We got to say this. Canada. I love Canada and Australia, obviously. Tell us about this product because I've been talking about this for a full year. And then you have some stuff that's been hidden from us that we all didn't know either.
Well, that was on purpose.
Obviously. All right, tell us about this product. It's great.
Okay, so our Provincial Vodka, in our view, it is the world's best vodka that you'll ever taste. There's been a little bit of sampling. I think a lot of people here agree.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of sampling. It's very, very good. Tell us why. Now, I was always impressed by the water. We first met at Celebrity Connected, Gifting Suites. The Gene and Diana are out there. You always come back. Why do you come back with your product?
Well, come back because the positive results that we're seeing of just the endorsements that we're getting now for our product, we're just seeing great response. And everybody does agree. It is, like on the bottle it says, smooth like no other vodka. And when people try it, they just, it's fun to watch people's face when they first try
Oh, so
it.
you saw my face.
Oh yeah, it's like everybody's waiting for that punch in the face when you taste the vodka. Exactly.
There wasn't one.
Hey.
That's funny.
So, and then it's just an amazing kind of a look that everybody gives you.
Okay, so what he's not mentioned, I love to fill in the blanks here. It's an award-winning brand, first of all. What's the latest award you've won? Very, very important.
Okay, we just won the Global Spirits International Competition, which was being held at Las Vegas, November 26th. And we just got the results, and we did get a silver for our regular vodka. We got a silver for our apple pie liqueur.
Wrong. Should have gotten a gold.
We got a gold for our Provincial Spiced Vodka, which, by the way, is the only one in the world.
Wow.
Yeah, people were oogling this because no one had seen it before, and I didn't even know because I'm stuck on the apple, so. But, yeah.
Yeah, and the people that really do enjoy the Provincial Spice Vodka, you could be a vodka drinker, you could be a scotch, a whiskey, spiced rum drinker, even a beer drinker. They find so many close characteristics about it that it's enjoyable to drink.
And Susan, you guys grew up together?
Yes, from kindergarten to grade 12, we went to school together in the same little hometown.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, he was a bad little boy, wasn't he?
Yes, well, you know, I do have a story about him in chemistry class, and could you imagine, one of the first experience I knew of him distilling alcohol was in his science project in chemistry class.
Did you know what you were doing? Was this leading up to everything or what?
Well, this is pre-internet kind of stuff.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
So there was no internet to go on to figure out how to do it.
learn as you go.
Yeah.
Susan, tell us about yourself. You're based here in Los Angeles because I'm going to be dealing with you from now on. So when Paul's not here.
Yeah, so I've been in LA for about 16 years and moved here. I play beach volleyball and I work in medical sales, and I'm looking forward to being full-time with Provincial Vodka here in LA. But right now I am the LA person for Provincial Vodka and continuing to grow with the company.
And she's going to be one of my new best friends too.
I'm making a lot of new best friends here.
You know what? I don't care about them. This is all about us right here.
I've got some great phone numbers from people I've met at Celebrity Connected events.
Well, again, talk about that. Your experience, because Kat and I will tell you our experience. Even Gena and Stan's been to different ones also.
Yeah.
What's your experience about Celebrity Connected?
I love working with Celebrity Connected because they do produce exactly what they say they're going to produce. We know what to expect from their events. We know we're going to get some great opportunities to get endorsements from some well-known celebrities and some up-and-coming celebrities. So I love going to their events. They're very accommodating to us. They've allowed us to bring in additional people to our booth, to have a full camera crew. This most recent event, they had no issue with us bringing in video, and we had 3 photographers and a videographer. And in addition to our bartender at the booth, Paul, myself, and we usually bring a model or 2 with us as well.
Yeah, and one of the things that's missing today, because Susan, is they have this thing, they have this thing that lights the bottle up, which caught my attention. It's really interesting to see. Because I say it's a nice clean bottle, but when it lights up that sky blue purplish color, it's really intriguing, and people like that. So it's a attention to getter as far as I see.
Yes.
Kat, what have you been doing?
I have
Grandma.
been I have been discovering I'm a grandma, as I already told you. I went to Vegas and I went to bed at 10:30.
And
That's
then
what
the
you
other
do in
thing
Vegas,
was
I guess.
you were at the gifting suite too. Your first time there. What was your
my
experience?
first time.
What did you
I
like?
absolutely loved it.
Why?
It was beautiful. It was really well organized. I love the fact that every person had their own credentials and a piece of paper, so you could see their full name and what they do and recognize them better. And then I love the booths. The people were so nice. They had so many things to give, and I actually got some really cool gifts from the booth.
You found something that you really liked. Was it makeup?
It was actually beauty products,
Okay.
and they're vegan. I'm vegan, so when she said it's not animal tested, and they don't use any animal byproducts, I was in love with her products. So she actually gave me one of every single one of her products, which is 20 things. And I have them in my house now.
See,
Yes.
and when you told me that, because what happens at a lot of the gifting suites, if I have 10 girls or whatever, I've learned not one of them sees the same booth or talks to the same people, which is interesting. And at one point I had 28 people there. Don't tell Gene. But in general, the same thing. We didn't see the same people. We didn't go to the same booth. So when she says that and I do my walk arounds, I want to meet these people because I think it's interesting and I think it's really, really important if you have a good brand and if you're a mom and pop and you're coming from, say, St. Louis, and when you're giving this gift away, you're giving something that's expensive away, so you want to give it into the right hands. You want to make sure that people are promoting that project and that product around the world, and that's very, very important. So for the radio side of movie reviews and more, I like to have stuff like this here, this brand here, because not only is it good, it's important, and I like to see certain things grow. And I know when I'm walking around and I'm talking to, even if it's at the end, I like to say there's something about this. I'd like to take this and I'd like to run with this product and see what I can do to keep that momentum going on that. And I think that's important. So when you were telling me about that booth and they were vegan, I immediately went to them because I said, one of my co-hosts was over here and she really liked this, so I had to go over there. They go, oh, which one was it? So I had to describe who it was.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, yes, she's cute. We saw her. I'm like, yeah, she's not cute, but we...
Oh, wow.
No, I'm kidding. She's from Columbia. I don't want to snap. But no, so I went over there. I'm like, I thought it was important because things like that are important. That's important to you, so I want to champion those causes like that.
Yeah, and I love the fact that they have products for everybody. So if you're into delicious spiced rum, which you didn't have there, you should have it next year.
I will.
Yes. So they had one thing for everybody, and as you said, you visit different booths depending on your likes. So they had everything for every taste and what you follow, what your heart follows. So it was really nice to see the vegan beauty products.
Tell them about your story, how you came to the U.S., you and your mom.
Oh my gosh, okay. I was 19 years old, and we came on a vacation for like 1 month, and we loved it. It was New Jersey. It was summertime, so it was beautiful in summertime. And I said, Mom, I love it. Let's move. And we had friends in New Jersey, so we packed 1 bag for 2 people to come back. So we stayed, and we actually decided to make the mistake of buying.
Women, can you imagine bringing 1 bag to the U.S.?
Yeah, no.
For 2 people?
For 2 people. Oh and we made the mistakes to buy the ticket for January, and it was snowing like crazy. And we come from Colombia. It doesn't snow in Colombia. So we just get out of the plane, and we're wearing like our sandals and like just like a jean jacket. And then we come out, we're like, oh my God, we're freezing.
In New Jersey, right?
In New Jersey.
Oh my God.
In January.
In January, it's like the worst winter.
Yeah.
And we decided to go buy like the special boots. But for a while, I was walking around with like just 5 pairs of socks and then just sneakers. That's it. Yeah, it was tough. For like a person that comes from another country, it's not as easy. But I mean, I'm here, and I'm so proud of all my my journey, because it's taught me to be tough, and it's taught me to be also humble of where I come from, and I really love that.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Gena, talk about you being in the Navy, how you came from Maryland, how that happened. Because you are this artist type, but, you know.
Look at her. I wish I could see her overalls.
Oh, my goodness. So I am actually, I'm from Chesapeake, Virginia, and I was in the Navy for 6 years. I just got out a month and a half ago, actually. So I'm like fresh out.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your support. I've rehearsed that for a while. I really couldn't get it together, because when people say, "Oh, thank you for your service,"
well, I mean it though.
Yeah, I mean most people mean it, but it's like they'll catch you like when you're like doing the most random thing, like in the bathroom, and they'll see you in the uniform, like, "Oh, thank you for your service." I'm like, okay, excuse me, sorry. But it's wonderful that, you know, like I've learned to appreciate a lot of things after being in the military, because you really go without at times for, you know, the sake of sacrifice. And spending 6 years in the military as a woman of color, I would say it was very arduous, but it was definitely beneficial. I'm just thankful. It's made me so thankful for every single thing that I have now, and I just thank God that everything is just what it is now, and I can really live my dream and do what I want to do, and no one can stop me. Like,
And what is that dream?
I'm an artist.
Yeah.
I'm a creator.
Yep.
I mean, I paint, I do photography, I do film. I mean, there's different things that I always have my hand in. But more or less, I want to remind people that you can still dream, and it is still possible. And I think a lot of adults tend to forget that, and they get a little too serious about, you know, the most mundane things. And I tell my friends all the time, I have problems with, you know, actually being compassionate with people who have first world problems, because I've seen people who didn't have water.
Right.
who
And
didn't
you've
have
been
power.
around the world, too.
I've been to Asia, all up and through there. I've been to Australia, been to random Guam, which is cool, half a day. I love it. Culturally, I think that every person here in the U.S. probably should travel outside of the country.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When we talked about that, too.
Yeah. I think
And it's different, because you would call me on the ship, and you educated me about a lot of things that I didn't know, which I thought was quite interesting. How many people were on your ship? How many men?
Roughly about like 350.
Okay, more than I thought. How many women?
There's roughly maybe 40 of us,
36.
Oh, wow.
give or take. Yeah.
I remember the number.
How was that for you as a woman?
I would say that it was trying at times, and I mean, I'm from the South. From being in Chesapeake, we talk with sass. We're snapping, we're rolling, what's up, girl? But in the professional world, especially in the military, that can be misconstrued as being negative or being, very aggressive, and a lot of male masculine figures would take it as a challenge. Oh. Because, I mean, I'm very urban, I guess is the proper vernacular.
Stan's laughing.
But I would say that there was always something, but it was more on a personal like level. It wasn't like because I'm a female, because I'm black. It wasn't that. It was more or less like you deal with people that really don't have social skills. So there's times where you're like, man, like why is he talking to me like I'm completely like on another planet? And I'm like, oh wait, you know, he just got out of, you know, high school and he's here and he doesn't really know what to do with his life. So let me just guide him gently.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you know, you also talked about this is I got this in my mind still. I still have this in my mind. Sleeping on the bunks. Talk about that, because that's challenging as a woman with all those guys.
So
Susan, could you imagine that, sleeping with all these men in the bunks?
No, it was co-ed. Well, not co-ed. It was separated, because there was no co-ed thing, because women are perverts and dudes are perverts. I don't want to say like guys are nasty. You know, chicks are just as bad. So let's just say that if you can imagine like sleeping on like a twin size like kid's bed that's elongated for an adult, that's what you got for however many months you're out. And
you gone for 8 months.
Yeah, I was gone for 8
and
months.
she would call me no matter where she was around the world.
Yeah,
and we'd talk about
so
stuff.
when somebody tells me they can't call me, I'm like, why? I'm calling you from a ship in the middle of the ocean. Hello. Yeah, so I mean, you really have to really adapt. You have to have a really great mentality and be very strong, because there will be some times where you're challenged.
Yeah.
And you just have to make sure that you cover your own butt, you know, because professionally you're gonna go through a lot.
You do have to be so strong to be there. I don't even think of me being there. Oh my gosh. You
gain a lot of strength from it too. I would say that I've learned to be a social chameleon. I'll say that I can interact with anybody. I caught a lift from the bar for my birthday. I caught it back home, and there was a driver. He didn't speak good English. He spoke Arabic. So what I do? Went straight for Google Translate. I want to talk to you, because that was the one problem, is like I want to learn so many languages, because it hurt me to go to Sasebo in Japan and I can't talk to locals. They want to talk to me like hi, how are you, and that's all they got. And I'm like, man, I want to talk to this person. They want to talk to me. They want to interact. And I'm just like, man, we could be friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stan, welcome here. We've been friends for a long time. I've been waiting for this moment. All right, so when Stan and I met, he introduced me to Buddhism. So it's been 27, almost 28 years. And I tell people the story. You don't know this. I tell people the story because there was no one that was going to convert me to anything. It was just not happening. Well, he understood me because he came from the world of radio. He understood me because he actually talked to me and didn't force me to do anything, which was good. I wasn't a 9-to-5. I mean, I'm not in that 9-to-5 world. I like to create things. I like to help a lot of people. And then so he introduced me to this practice, which I still practice, which is great. And then he went off to go do things, and all of a sudden I see him. I think I saw you in Primary Colors. I'm like, is that Stan next to John Travolta? I'm like, it is. But when I met him, he was a comedian. And I used to go watch the shows. Right. I didn't really know he wanted to be an actor. And all of a sudden I started seeing him popping up in these movies. I'm like, is that Stan? And then I couldn't reach him. I didn't have his number. But I was hanging out with one of his younger brothers. I'm like, how do I reach your brother? Oh, I don't have his number. I mean, what do you mean you don't have his number? He's in this major movie. So I'm like, call your family. I want to talk to him and congratulate him. And then occasionally I would run into him at an ABC function with his wife. And I'm like, well, who's this woman? I didn't know he was married. I'm like, because there's all the celebrities there, and you're at these open bars, and you're drinking with everybody. I'm like, what's Stan doing here? And I'm like, oh, who's this? Oh, this is my wife. I'm like, oh, I get it. Yeah. So maybe once a year, I would run into him. And then I'm like, I'll see you, and then you'd go on to the next thing. Sofia Vergara, this is where I was with Sofia Vergara. We were at the ABC party. Yeah, she loves her.
I love her.
Tell us about what you've been doing, because you're on all these shows, and all of a sudden, how did one thing skyrocket to another, starting with comedy?
Well, I'm starting before comedy. I'm urban too. You know,
yes, he is.
All right.
I think that all roads led to, my dream as a child was to be an actor. But on the way, I got into radio. I played in a band. And
yes, that's the other thing. Yeah. Drum and bugle corps, which is my favorite thing. You played baritone or something.
I played baritone horn in a marching band, and I was a front man. I sang with an R&B band, R&B pop/pop band, and I knew that this was all a part of the journey. I just knew you know how you know your dream when you're a kid. You know, this is what I want to do. And we'd go to the movies, and I'd see Sammy Davis Jr., Sidney Poitier, and I'd say, that's what I want to do. I didn't know how I was going to get there, but I know that was the destination. And it's still the destination. It's all about the journey. So I started out in a band. I ended up in radio. I was in radio for 12 years. I was even in a country western radio.
That's interesting.
You know, I did a country western station in Texas.
Was that your break-in?
That was not my break-in, dude. I did 5 years at an R&B / back then they called it urban contemporary.
Yep.
Yeah. And I went to Texas to get a job because one of my real close friends was the program director of the station there. By the time I got there, he'd lost his job, so I didn't get a job, so I had to take the first thing smoking. So I started working for this country western station. I was that good old boy KD until he didn't take me. You know, I had to pay.
Did they know you were black?
No.
See, here's the thing. When it comes to radio, they didn't know I was black either.
Yeah. That's right. I didn't know you was black when I met you.
I still get teased about that.
Yeah. But, you know, the journey is, you know, it's all been a part of the journey, you know. Stand-up, I love stand-up when I was doing it. I love radio when I was doing it. And I still have an ear for both. I listen to comics with an ear to see, okay, is this guy funny? What is his material about? Is it personal? Is he taking risk? I listen to radio for things like dead air, entertainment value. What is it about? You know, is it creating value in the community? So that's something that when you're trained, you just can't get away from it.
Right.
You know, and radio is very powerful.
Still.
Yeah. Oh, please. It's one of the most powerful mediums there is, more so I think than TV, because you can take it everywhere. And when I was on radio, man, it was like, oh my God, I get letters from people 50, 70 miles away, you know, get letters from every walk of life, you know, telling me how much they enjoyed the show. And, but in my mind, somehow I was going to end up in Los Angeles. I knew that. I didn't know how I was going to get there. I knew that, okay, this was just a stop along the way. And, you know, the opportunity came. I just threw everything I had in the car.
How much money did you come out here with? That's
Actually,
always the key.
Actually, I had a pretty decent piece of change in my pocket when I got here. The day I got here, my car caught on fire.
Ooh.
Caught on fire. And it was like, okay, now, you are here. You know, and all my stuff was in the car.
Oh.
No.
So I had to start from scratch, you know. And LA is the type of place that
They don't tell you how expensive it is to live here.
it demands money from the time you wake up in the morning.
Exactly.
It's like, pay me. You're here, you pay me. So, and I was determined not to go back. My home is St. Louis. I was determined not to go. As much as I love St. Louis, my heart is there. It wasn't where I wanted to spend the rest of my life.
Exactly.
Yeah. And especially now with what's going on there now. I'm sure everybody knows about what's going on there in the news, but that's another story. But as I said, everything was about the journey. I did stand-up. I went on the road with a lot of guys that we all know. I worked with D.L. Hewley and I
Cedric?
forget his name. Cedric's from St. Louis. I never got an opportunity to work with Cedric, you know. But Alonzo.
Oh, yes.
Alonzo Bowden.
Yep.
We're very good friends. We went on the road several times together, and then all of a sudden he blew up. He's talking about seeing somebody blow up. He really blew up.
And now you see those shows called I'm Dying Up Here, Jim Carrey series on Showtime, which is good. So you can see how those comics grew up.
Right.
Because being from Canada, if you think of Johnny Carson or anything like that, anytime Johnny brought somebody on he thought was good, he would invite them over to sit on the couch. And that was that means you made it at that point. So
that was
when
being
you guys
touched
were
by
doing that
God.
stuff,
That was like
Exactly.
was if he brought you to the couch, your career was made.
yep.
Wow.
You know, a friend of mine, John Hinton. Well, he's not a friend of mine. He's a friend through a friend, but I know him. Johnny brought him over, and his whole life changed overnight. And the last question Johnny asked him, he said, "Well, son, you have an agent?" And John was so nervous, and he didn't know what to do. He said, "No, I don't." He said, "I don't think you're going to have that problem when you wake up in the morning." And his life changed. His life changed overnight. You know, his life changed. You know, so but I'm doing what I love, man. I wanted to act. I always wanted to act. That's all I've ever wanted to do.
How did you? I always wanted to figure this out because I still can't. How did you get in primary colors?
My agent.
Literally, I'm looking at the screen, and he's sitting next to John Travolta. I'm like, how did he do that?
My agent at the time, they sent me in, and Jewel Bestrop was the casting director, and Mike Nichols was there.
Ah.
And I read, and the last thing he said to me is, "See you on the set." You know,
wow.
And that was like, wow, okay. And you know,
did you believe it?
You play it cool until you get out to the parking lot, and then you start jumping all over. And man, he was such a nice guy. He was just a nice man.
John is a great guy.
Yeah. John too. I'm talking about Mike Nichols.
Oh yeah, Mike. Yeah.
John was so cool that I remember there was this extra who was just talking as the camera was rolling, and he just wouldn't shut up. And John started talking with him, you know, just so that this guy wouldn't lose his gig. You know, he started talking, and you know, so they stopped for John. They wouldn't stop for the extra.
Right.
And somebody would lean in and tell him, "Hey, look here, you got, you know, camera's rolling. Keep your mouth shut." You know, and he was cool like that. I mean, there were times when we, you know, acting is hurry up and wait. You know, it's hurry up and wait. It's like being in the service. You know.
Yes.
In those long periods of them changing over, we'd be doing dance steps and singing Motown medleys and all that kind of stuff. He was just a real nice guy. Yeah.
Interesting.
And they're talking, what, 20-something years ago. Because that was about the Bill Clinton.
Yep.
Roughly about the political life, the beginning of politics, well, presidential politics for Bill Clinton.
Being from Canada, what shows are you seeing? Because, you know, for example, he's on Ray Donovan. Ray Donovan is still on for maybe another 1 or 2 seasons.
It's at Showtime. Yeah.
How did you get Ray Donovan? Because I never know who's getting what in what country, so I always ask.
Once again, I have a really exceptional manager. I have to say that. And my agent at the time, they thought it was just going to be 1 episode, you know, just go in. And I mean, there were like every guy I knew was there. And I went in. The producer was there, and they just kept asking me to try different things. And I'd try them, and they'd laugh, or they'd smile, or that kind of stuff. And I tried a few other things. The guy that was in before me, he had been on everything you can name, and I'm not going to say his name or any of that, but he had been on everything. And as I was leaving, he was getting into his car, and the casting director came out of the building. He whistled, "Stan, come back." And I saw the look on his face, and I was like, okay, they're not bringing me back for nothing. And I came back, and they asked me to try a couple other things. They asked me about shaving. They asked me all types of things. And before I got home, I got the call that I got in the gig. So, you know.
And 4 seasons later.
Yeah. And you never know, man. There's no such thing as a small part, you know. We thought it was just going to be, you know, a couple of lines in an episode, and it turned out to be 4 seasons. Actually, 5 seasons, including this season.
Wow. And then, you know, Tyler Perry.
Yeah, that's another thing.
You know who Tyler Perry is?
Absolutely. I love Tyler Perry.
That's another thing that started out as just maybe a small role, and ended up being, I've done 4 seasons of that, you know. And just a real nice dude, you know.
I like Tyler,
He has an amazing complex in Atlanta, and I think he's bought a military base, and it's a historic site. Some of the buildings on it are historic sites, so you can't touch them. He can shoot, so he can go back in time and shoot something from
that's pretty cool.
From the Civil War or from now. But there's certain buildings on the base that he can't do anything with. But
do you know Tyler's story? He was homeless for many years, and then he started writing plays in his car.
His first hit play was Medea.
Yep.
And he wrote the play about Medea, and he never looked back, you know. Yeah.
And then he hooked up with Lionsgate Studios, and that's why you see him with Lionsgate, and all that money goes to Tyler Perry Studios.
Yeah.
I remember watching like old VHS tapes of like the whole Medea's, all the Medea skits, like the class reunion, like all that. Like my mother used to always have them. Like we were sitting around watching VHS.
And now you have Medea Halloween, Boo 2.
Boo 2, yeah.
Nice. But he's directing.
Boo did
really
well. The first original Boo, yeah.
So it's interesting, and that's one of the reasons why I like to have everybody together, because eventually I'll have Tyler on or whatever. I asked him one time, I want to go to your studios, and I was just saying I want to go to the studios. He goes, who do I call? He goes, here's her number. Off the top of his head, he had his assistant's number. I'm like, that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he goes, call this person. I'll see you in Atlanta. Okay. I never went.
Oh.
Because I'm not an actor, but I want to have those contacts so I can say, here, I think you have what it takes. Call this person, go in, let's see what happens. And the rest is up to you. Mm-hmm. This is what you're talking about. This is what I was talking to Gena about when she was on the ship. I wanted her to document everything that she was doing so she can look back at that and tell that story. Because we planned this a year ago.
Yeah.
We did.
Out in the
What she was going to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing, talking to Paul. And now to Susan. I plan this because when I like something, I want to champion it for the day until the day I die. And I've got 29 more years of doing this that I decided to do.
But one thing
I'm
I
gonna do
believe,
this.
that there are no accidents.
No.
I think that things happen for a reason. When you ask me, well, how did that happen? I can tell you the mechanics of, okay, my agent called, blah, blah, blah. But I just think that you end up being where you're supposed to be at the time you're supposed to be there.
Exactly.
And just like us meeting and the whole Buddhism thing.
Yeah, because I think about that all the time. I'm like, okay, this was Stan. Well, okay, how did he convince me? Because no one was going to convince me to do it. That just wasn't going to happen. I mean, who's this black guy from St. Louis? I can't even identify with anybody black.
Just a godless
And then, here we are. We got a hit play called Elevator in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
Who knew? How did that happen?
It blows my mind.
You guys get a chance when you come
Please
back,
do.
because it'll
Yeah,
be playing,
I'll
I think, until the end of the year now, because it's been
Let me know.
extended.
I'll make sure.
Yeah.
Oh, you know.
I'll make sure you guys get to see it.
We should
We
go for
we
sure.
workshopped this place 7 years ago,
November for
and
me.
it started out in the Fringe Festival, and it ran for 10 months. People loved it, and it got retooled a bit. Brand new set. We bought it back this year. Michael Leone, young director, writer. Just a genius idea, and it's so timely right now with it's about 7 people who get stuck in an elevator, and we see who they are, and we see their catharsis or metamorphosis, and they don't change. They do change, and I can't really tell you much more about it, but I think because we judge one another without getting to know one another, and it deals with everything from race to sexism to, classism, you name it. And the play deals with all that. And I think because of this current political climate that we're in, I think it's kind of a microcosm of...
And it's been sold out ever since.
Every day, every night. Standing room only and standing ovation.
Had Michelle Coffer on and a couple other people. And then one of the films that we chose, American Street Kids, Michael directed that. So when I ran into him, he came to our Saturday night thing that we were doing for American Street Kids. I'm like, what's he doing? What are you doing here? And I'm like, I'm with the cast of this play. I'm like, what a play? He goes, and then he goes Elevator. So they were all there, and I'm like, if he's here, this must be something interesting. I didn't know it was that until they came on and started telling me about it. I'm like, well, this is great. And he's the only African American in it, which is interesting. But to have that play here in Los Angeles, because they don't do well per se, but to be extended and have it do well, because the only one I could think of was, if you ever saw My Big Fat Greek Wedding, that's the last play I could think of. So this is in that realm of that hit play, and that great job when it comes to that.
Let it have that kind of success,
Exactly.
It's just really taken off. People love it. People have been back 2 and 3 times. People have brought their children and their grandparents and everyone. It's a play that everyone can see. There's no bad language or sex in it, but it's really a play about it tugs at your heart, so to speak.
Favorite film? Last time you were here, we were talking about favorite films that you like and who you want to meet, because you never know, because it is about luck and good fortune.
Oh, I always say the same 2 people. You know this?
Yeah, but Stan's here now.
Oh, yes, you don't know. Sofia Vergara, obviously. She's Colombian. Yeah. We're all so proud of her because she's come so far. And she's not afraid of being Colombian. That's how Colombian people are. Yeah. They're like so outgoing and so like clownish, if that's a word. I don't know. And definitely Leonardo DiCaprio. I've always said the same. I think his movies are brilliant. He's a very, very good actor. He really always gives the best that he can. And in my opinion, I always say, like, he deserves more Oscars that he's received. But I guess, I mean, with the last one, I guess we're good.
Exactly.
They finally recognized him for being a good actor.
Yeah.
So,
Susan, what made you come to Los Angeles? And when you go out to see a movie, what gets you to go out and actually pay to see a film? Because it's not easy.
I like to see a film with a good message. So, for example, the most recent film I saw was Hidden Figures.
Ooh, excellent
I love
film.
that movie.
nice.
Did you know anything about being Canadian, right? Did you know anything about the human scientists, or human computers is what they used to call them?
No,
Because I didn't either.
it was very eye-opening.
Wasn't it a great story? And this movie, Hidden Figures, if you haven't seen it, it's on DVD now. You can see it on everything. And it's about 3 African American women that they were just great in math, and it shows where they came from and how good they were with their head. And they helped get, John Glenn to the moon and these people. So they became friends in a segregated area at that point.
And showed
Did you
how
just
they
cry at the
overcame.
end?
Showed how they overcame.
Absolutely, and what they overcame. Being a human computer. Can you imagine
Yeah.
being called that?
Yeah, it was horrible the way they were treated,
Yeah,
and yet how much they could not have done that without them.
exactly. Did you cry at the end?
Oh yeah.
I did too. Yeah. And that film went on to give, what, $135+ million
Beautiful.
with
Wow.
very little promotion, really.
Yeah,
Right.
Unbelievable.
it didn't need it.
Well,
No, it didn't need it because the fact that it was a story of like beautiful black women, you know,
Right.
and it's something that's missed out on in history. And now, I mean, all we see on television is these women that are changing their body, they're changing their hair, everything is fake this, fake that. But how often do we get to see women that, are beautiful just as they are, and they're really talking about like the people that most people forget about.
yeah.
That's not taught about, especially in Virginia. Virginia, we didn't get that kind of like the black story in history was kind of one of those things that was separated. It was not really in there. They threw stuff like, oh, like here's W.B. Du Bois, like, like Madam C.J. Walker. There you go. That's what you get. You get a little bit. But it wasn't enough for us to say, oh, I really know about, my people at that time, unless we really did the research. Or unless our parents really said, like, hey, this is where you came from. Like, know that you're able to do whatever you want to do.
That's a good thing about seeing movies like that. They're inspiring. I call them the 4 E's.
Yeah.
And any movie, any CD, any play, it's got the 4 E's. It's got to be entertaining. It's got to be exciting. It's got to be engaging, emotional, empathetic, exciting. And, if it's a bad movie or bad play, I just call it empty. And I'm not here to belittle things like that. There's enough people out there to do that. So that's why I just call it empty. I don't have to say anything because other people would. But what I do is I leave it up to the audience and let them decide when it comes to things. You let the audience decide to come seeing
course.
Elevator, coming to hear and see you, listen to that, talking about this, let the audience decide. But it's our job to help promote a good project because everything needs to be promoted one way or another. When you were on a ship, you were seeing what movies?
Oh, all the blockbusters. Anytime we pulled in, we had when we went back out, we would have to see, everything from the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like every single time we had dinner, lunch, anything like it was always some fantasy film. That was like the escape for us because anything that reminded us of home kind of made us sad. And it was like, okay, well, we miss so and so, we miss our wife, we miss our kids, we miss our family. Like it's just. We were better off living in the sci-fi world when we're out on the ocean. So it's a little lighthearted too. It's not as much cursing and sex in sci-fi films. Well, okay, maybe some of them, but yeah. I mean, for me, that was always like the fun thing. It was an escape. Mentally you're worn out. You're working off 3 hours of sleep for the last 2 days. You're working hard, busting your butt. Nobody's saying thank you anything, and it's just like, well. Guess I could watch this movie to get me through the night, and keep me awake, while I've got to wait in between my watches while I'm doing work on the show.
And when you would call, one of the things we would talk about, what's your name going to be? What kind of show do you want to do? That inspiration. And I kept telling her, just make sure you keep a log of what you're doing because that 8 months is going to go by quick. And then what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And then I would still get on her ass about, okay, you got a month left. Are you ready? You got your stuff going because it's going quick.
That's the thing though. It's like there's always these funny stories that I read because I remember I was telling you like there was always these funny stories and I would always use other names because I always give people nicknames when I meet them and it's like fat bottom girl or like comb over or. I
wanted her to come up with a name for her future podcast.
Yeah.
So she came up with one good one. She says 3, but it was only 1, and it was Roger That.
Yeah.
That was a good name, and I said you should use that name.
Because in the Navy, when you say Roger That means basically F off.
It's a good name, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, literally. Because if you're like, oh, do this for me right now, and it's like Roger That.
That's
I'm gonna use this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Paul, before you ever came to the U.S., what movies were you seeing in Canada, and what did you want to see when you first came here before you brought your brand here?
Actually, one of the latest movies that I did see is, if I'm not mistaken, the name of it was Hacksaw Ridge.
Ah,
Hacksaw Ridge.
excellent film.
You know, that was one of those movies, if you haven't seen it, watch it.
Right.
It's one of those movies where a young boy was
Who's an
very
atheist.
determined of serving and yet not, how would you say it? He didn't want to hurt people, he wanted to help people. And just the way that everybody was treating him, he kept to his values all the way through. And right to the end, and the amount of people that he saved, and the irony and the karma that he built among just by himself throughout that whole show, which is a true show. It just showed how many people did he save. I'm not too sure. But
Absolutely.
like it was.
I mean, again, nobody knew about the story, and how dare us, as you know, in the U.S., not tell a story like this. I mean, okay, so I've seen that movie 3 times, and luckily I watched so many movies. My best year I've seen movies. I've seen movies and TV shows was 1,192. I do not get a chance. Exactly. That was 2 years ago. I do not get a chance to go back and watch another movie again because I have so many new films to see on the film festival side, stuff that's just coming out of home video, stuff that may just be, hey Brian, watch this film, we want to get a taste of that, what do you think? That kind of thing. I needed to be inspired to see what he was going through, going back to what you were talking about.
Well, and after you watch it the second time, it's almost like I missed so much of that show.
Absolutely.
And then finally you watch it the third time, and it's like, wow, there is so much of the show, and now you truly know what he was going through and how people are so ignorant in the way that they just treat people.
I was bothered that it didn't win anything because what Mel Gibson did to this as a director, unbelievable film. I was bothered that he didn't win Best Director.
That is one person, yeah.
So if you can meet anybody, who would it be?
It would be Mel.
Okay.
Gibson. Yeah, like he actually does things from the heart.
Yeah.
It seems like any of his productions, there's meaning to that movie. There's meaning to the productions. Some
Stan,
people,
when you were watching films growing up as a little kid in St. Louis, what made you want to go out here? Was it one particular film? You were talking about Sammy Davis. And by the way, there's a Sammy Davis film coming out that David Maglin has that was up in Toronto. It's Toronto International Film Festival. Sammy Davis Jr. documentary, and I can't wait to see it. I'm going to get that director around within the next couple weeks.
That's a good question, and I mean, I would come home from school and we'd have the early show. So I saw everything from Gene Kelly and Ginger Rogers
I love Gene Kelly.
You know, I mean, or Fred Astaire, I should say. And I mean, it was just something about going into this dark room with all these people and watching something and watching how people were moved, you know.
That's why I go to the theaters.
Yeah, you know, I still love it. It's one of my favorite pastimes. And I think what really got it into my grandmother, she would come and get me out of school. And, you know, it's 6 and 7, 8, 9. You know, you're not going to school today, we're going to the movies. You know?
Oh, how cool.
You know, and she would go to the movies. I'd be her date, you know. And I just fell in love with it, you know. And her escape, you know, it was like her escape because she worked very hard. And so it just became like, this is something that pleases her. I like to do that. It's something that makes her happy, you know, even though she instilled in me to get an education, don't work hard, those type of things. It's like, this is what I want to do.
Yeah. But was there one film that really
Well, I
hit
can't
you?
think of one. The films that started to move me became, that are memorable were later in life. I mean, of course, Godfather was one of my favorite films of all time, but I love Do the Right Thing. I love the Color Purple. You know,
Oh, yeah.
You know, those of course were later in life, but those are things that I remember that just moved me. The Godfather, just because of the acting, I don't think there'll ever be a movie that will have that caliber of just giants, just just acting giants in it, icons, from Marlon Brando to Robert De Niro to Al Pacino, you name it, they've that movie moves me, and it's a movie that to this day I can watch over and over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And I'm always watching it to see what they're doing, to see how they, just do what they do,
So when you see John Travolta in 1976 and,
Welcome Back, Kotter.
Yeah. And then you end up acting with him many, many years later.
Yeah. It's like a dream come true, man. Everything I do. I did an ADR session yesterday for Ray Donovan and John Voight, who I've worked with now for over, and this is John Voight.
Uh-huh.
In spite of our political differences.
Exactly, yeah.
He's iconic and just one hell of an actor, man.
Yep.
And we were both members of the Actors Studio, and we rode back in the cart together from the studio to the parking lot, I should say. And he just leaned over and he touched me on the shoulder. He said, "We lost Marty, didn't we?" And Martin Landau was like one of my, just a mentor to me.
Yep.
And that just, moves me that
when they say that like
connection, the way he said it and everything, and he talked about what a great man he is. I mean, when I was a kid, I saw North by Northwest, which he was in, Raisin in the Sun, all those movies. So I can't say which one, but I just know that, man, watching Sidney Poitier do that, I want to do that one day.
Paul, give your website.
Okay, for the full company, it's verdugodistilleries.com, but easier it would be provincialvodka.com, and that would be PROVICIAL vodka VODKA.com.
and to verify with Susan, when people go on this website, and you get the website again too, what are they going to see?
They will see information about Provincial Vodka as well as about the other products. I'm asking them to Americanize and to internationalize the website a bit. It is a little bit Saskatchewan, overrun with Saskatchewan and Canada right now.
Right.
So I want them to help to get it built up more for the American and international market. Mm-hmm. But you'll certainly see information about the product. The best thing to do there is company information to call, and ultimately they'll route you to me to find out where to get the product. Mm-hmm. And the stores right now, if you want to know where to get the product,
absolutely.
In Hermosa Beach, go to Mickey's Deli on 2nd Street in Hermosa Beach, 2nd and Hermosa Avenue. And the other place, Gelson's Market, is in the process of bringing it in. It's not there yet, but you'll see it in Gelson's Markets very soon.
That'll be good.
Nice.
Yes, it'll be awesome.
Jenny, you got a website for people if they want to reach out to you on your art or things that they may be interested in you?
So you can find me on Instagram, Gena Renee, GENA _RYNAE. I know it's a hard thing to get together, but you'll figure it out. I spelled it out. You can run back the video, whatever you need to do, a podcast or whatever. You got it. Also, I'm on Facebook. I have a LinkedIn. It's Gena Smith. That's my professional name.
Yeah, we used to call her Smith.
Smith was the one I went by. You have my whole full government, so don't come find me. But I'm on multiple outlets, and you can also find me on Facebook. My artist page is also on there too, LinkedIn with my actual Facebook page. So if you want to find me, you can. Thank you.
Stan?
William Stanford Davis on Facebook and
your IMDb,
and LinkedIn.
And you're on Facebook too. Yep.
Yeah, Facebook. On Instagram is Stan, STAHN, Daman, DAMAHN, and I'm on in Twitter, W Stan Davis on Twitter.
Cat?
I am on Facebook and Instagram as Cat Lopez TV, also on Twitter, and my website is catlopeztv.com.
Talking about fashion, you're always stylish. I like that. Is that a Colombian thing? Is that just you just love? Yeah, because those shoes are hot.
Show us the shoes.
Oh, thank you. So I grew up, Colombians are very proud. So my mom always taught me, even if you go to the store to buy groceries, you gotta look your best. So she wouldn't let me leave the house in pajamas, or, you know, like they do it here, like they go to college in pajamas and things like that. I wouldn't be. My mom wouldn't let me, and she's like, you have to look your best. And I really thank her for that, because it taught me to look good always. I mean, I think I look good, I hope.
No, you do. You do.
Thank you.
That Vegas dress that you had, I'm like, wow. You saw me post wow, didn't you? I was like, wow, that's Cat? Wow. She's got to be careful now. Susan, what do you like being in Los Angeles? Do you like the fashion aspect of things? Do you like the entertainment aspect of things?
I love the beach.
Oh, that's right. The volleyball
I
player.
spent 33 years in the snow. I moved here for the beaches.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Every weekend's a vacation for me.
Yeah. Was it hard to make that transition for you, or you were ready?
Oh, I was ready.
Yeah, no wonder you're so happy.
And she actually played volleyball on the professional scale.
Wow.
Did you play with Gabrielle Reese?
Well, I was just starting to play pro as she was kind of just getting out of it. So I never got to the same level as her. I was the wannabe. I played the AVP qualifiers. I played an FIVB qualifier. I actually have a partner right now. We're both of similar age. We are going to make a run at playing AVP and try to make the main draw next season.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
So we'll be the oldest combined team ever
Woman
to
power.
do that.
Hey.
We'll have a combined,
High five to
we will
that.
have a, no, we have a combined age of 100.
Wow.
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 You know John Hyden?
Yes.
Yeah. His wife and our, well, that sounds bad, but she's a friend of mine.
He used to play for many
Robin.
years with Jeff Nygaard,
Right,
who
right.
I'm very close with Jeff and his wife Renee as well.
Yeah. Robin's a close friend. I've known her for years. She used to come to my acting class, actually.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
What do you want to do while you're doing this? Was it something you wanted to do before you came to down to the U.S.?
Yeah, so the goal really for me, I would love, working with Paul and selling vodka versus medical devices. Right now I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning and
I know that
working all
feeling.
day. So one of the nice things working with Provincial Vodka, the hours are a little different. So I'll be able to train for beach volleyball early in the morning and work for Provincial Vodka. all
Oh, I
day.
can come out to support you. I love volleyball.
Yeah.
I love doing that.
I also do a little stand-up comedy on the side. So.
Oh, we gotta
Just in my
you working?
infancy. My show now is up to 10 to 15 minutes as much as I have.
Where are you
to
working?
train. Just doing open mics. I did my first little 3-minute open mic. It went spectacular, and I was like, oh, I need to do this more.
Yeah, that's good. Where?
nice.
At the store?
Well, because I live in Hermosa Beach, we had Padones.
Oh, yeah,
Unfortunately,
yeah.
they don't hold it anymore, so we're kind of looking for a new spot. So once
So
volleyball season ends, we'll go and do a weekly open mic.
The Hermosa Beach Comedy Club is not there anymore, is it?
They have the Comedy and Magic Club.
The
I have to
Comedy
put a
and Magic,
video
that's what I
together
meant,
to try and audition for
Yeah.
that. So that is one of my goals to do a show at the Comedy and
Now,
Magic
does
Club.
Leno still come out there? What, is it on Monday nights?
It was
or
usually
something?
Sundays. I think Sunday
yeah,
nights.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if he still does, but
I'm
he
sure
did for the
yeah.
longest time.
Yeah.
Jenna,
That's great. Don't quit.
movie that touched you.
Movie like all time?
Yep.
Like are we talking about like deep to my soul?
Well, yeah, you're in a different genre when it comes to things. That's why.
There was this movie called Serafina with Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh yeah.
As a kid, that would always be played multiple times, and I wouldn't watch it because I was like, "Oh, what is this movie? Like they're out in Africa, like that seems weird, right?" No, but I started to actually look more into it, and I started like realizing that they go through similar things like how we do, but except it's genocide, except it's hard, in that time frame. Not like, well, currently there's of course some really deep things, but I don't want to get into that. But what I resonated with was that people empowerment, like a unit, like as like people. And I find that with the Black community, we tend to kind of be like crabs in a pot. Like there's a lot of negativity, and I get a lot of people criticizing me and telling me things that I can't do this and I can't do that. But I'm like, it's my own people. Like I'm like, love me.
We know what that's like.
You can do everything.
Yeah, we do everything. We're capable. Everybody's capable of doing whatever they want to do. So don't tell me that I can't be great. Let me be great.
You are great.
90 seconds left. Sam, give what's coming up with you and your website one more last time.
I am currently doing Elevator. I just finished a series, just one episode of a series called Dead Women Walking, and a movie called So Be It that should be in the theaters this fall.
Okay.
And another film called Please Stand By with Dakota Fanning.
I like Dakota.
Yeah.
Website, one more card.
Once again, Facebook at William Stanford Davis at Facebook. IMDb, William Stanford Davis. What else? Twitter, W. Stan Davis.
Paul, why should people buy this Brian?
It is one of the best ones in the world.
Enough said.
In the world.
Standard website, real quick. Oh, and Paul, go ahead.
Just one quick thing. If you ever do drink, please don't drive.
Yes.
Exactly.
Safety first. Lyft driver will come pick you up. That's me too. Do that in between. But Gena Renee, GenaRynae. If you Google me, I'll be the first person to pop up on Facebook because it's a unique spelling. Yes. Cheers. Love it.
Susan.
Wow, I'm just so excited to be here. I don't have a website of my own, but go to verdugadistilleries.com or provincialvodka.com and check out our vodka.
Thank you. Cat?
Thank you. Cat Lopez TV, CATLOPEZ TV, in all social media.
And I want to thank everybody for coming. We had a great time, especially drinking this. I can't wait for the apple to come out because I'm getting it first. And the blueberry is actually really good, but Provincial is really, really good. I'm Brian Sebastian. This is Movie Reviews and More. Thank you so much for it. And you see someone without a smile, look at ours. But no, give them one of yours. And we will see you next week. Next week's birthday week. See you next week.
Yes.
You're listening to Movie Reviews and More with Brian Sebastian, only on LA Talk Radio.